Hey everyone, my name is Sam. Thanks for checking out this video. If you get to the end and liked it, then subscribe, hit the bell notification, and give the video a thumbs up. I was going to originally do like a recapping my 2020 reading goals, like how I did on them to 2021, but honestly, we all just wanted to survive 2020, and I was like, why? I honestly don't even remember what most of my goals were at the beginning of this year anyways, but honestly, like, I don't feel like anyone should be held accountable for anything this year. They did to just survive, basically. So I'm not gonna do that, but I'm gonna give myself 2021 goals, and most of them are bookish related, and then there's some non-bookish related ones. And if you don't follow me on Instagram, this dumbass at like midnight was playing with his brother on my bed, and his brother, because is big, moved, and he ran to play with him and smacked face first into my nightstand corner and cut his lip open, and he ended up having to get his front 2 teeth removed. So he's got no more 2 front teeth, so he keeps licking nonstop, but he's good. It was also a surprisingly inexpensive trip to the vet to get him sedated, and those teeth pulled was only like $250, which seemed wildly. I literally was like, I think they forgot to charge me for something, but I'm not gonna say anything, and left. But he's cool now. He was just groggy for a couple days, but he's good now. And yeah, the dogs are fine and good and healthy. Goal would be to keep them that way for the most part, I guess. I can't really think of anything else. Okay, hello. Me as a personal goal, I have been thinking for the last little while what I want to do I was lucky enough that my grandfather, when he did pass, left a couple members of my family an inheritance, and he was by no means Bill Gates, but he left us a very generous amount of money, especially as someone who was like, I just want to pay rent most months. So I've been trying to figure out what I'm going to do with it for a while. It was like, pay off my car, my student loans, whatever. But honestly, I feel like those are just adult expenses, and if I'm end up being able to pay them off early, that's great. But I'm able to afford those and my rent each month. So I've been thinking for the last little while, I've been thinking about it for years, honestly, of getting breast reduction surgery. So I finally reached out. The Alberta government basically told me I'm too fat for them to be willing to offer financial support, which infuriated basically every medical practitioner that I spoke to about it. But I found a plastic surgery, and sorry, if you do through the government, there's only certain plastic surgeries, like organized practices, that will do it because they don't want to have to deal with government insurance, which they don't normally have to deal with. So there's a longer wait time for that. So I have found one, though, that is not private, or it's a private one that doesn't interact with the Alberta government, so I would have to pay for it out of pocket, but I could use my inheritance to pay for that. They do just say that they have, as a private practice, they have a general rule that they don't put anyone to sleep under anesthesia that is above a BMI of 35. So I weighed myself this morning and I'm at 38 BMI, so a bit above. So my goal for this year, especially with everything that 2020 did with us, all of us trying to survive with quarantining and everything, my goal is I was about 250 at this point, I think, last year. So I've, gone up about to my original before everything that last year was. So my goal is to get down to 240 and then kind of continue on that process to get that done, because I just can't imagine having to go on life the way it is right now, and I think that was something that would make me both physically and emotionally happy. So me losing a few pounds, unfortunately, is not going to change the size that I have H cup. So that's something I want to do for myself. So that is the game plan for myself, is healthy weight loss, maintainable weight loss, and I have a couple friends, both online and in person, that will help me out with that. And now we go into books. So in 2020, we did a reading challenge in the TBR and Beyond group for the year, and it seemed people really liked it, so we made another one. So I plan on doing the 2021 version. I haven't printed it off yet, but it's the exact same length and the same format. So we meaning me and one of the other admins, had made it. We give you options. So it's a read a book that is or B, to try and help people kind of get through their existing back catalog rather than creating a challenge that only offers you one option at a time to get a point, and that you'd have to go buy more books or borrow more books for. So I'm really excited. In total, I think there's 28 regular prompts and then 4 bonus prompts involved with like the group specifically. And then so there's 32 in total. And I was able to do it this year. I'm finishing off this month. The one that's not checked off here is Talking Animals, but I read The Golden Compass. And then I have Winter House Mysteries, which is the next book I'm going to be reading, which is number 10. And then I think the last one I have on here somewhere is The King's Questioner, which is on my December TBR that I haven't read yet, but that will be the final one, and I'll be done the challenge then, so yay! And then 2021 goals. I finally got my Little Inkling 2021 planner. I know for a few people, that, especially, or even just like the first time getting their Little Inkling planners, they're like, wow, that's kind of expensive plus shipping. If you actually use it, it was totally worth it, especially for me that with booktube and work and just all of my schedules and everything, I like having something that is just books, that I can kind of keep track of what I've read. And it also helps me actually a fair amount looking at, okay, look at how many books you're actually buying, and buying more smartly. So they've made a couple upgrades to the planner for 2021 that I really love. I think right now in the Little Inkling design Etsy, or no, it's not an Etsy shop, her website shop, I think they're labeled as sold out right now, but she normally the last few years has all of the packages sent out, and once everything is sent out and she knows there isn't any issues, she puts any remaining stock on her website for sale. So if you're interested, didn't get it, just watch her website and watch her Instagram, and she's really good at getting things out. So right at the front there's a space in here for 2021 goals, so this is where I put all of mine down. So first one is I want to finish one series a month, and I feel like I've finished so many series the last couple months, especially like 4 a month or something like that, but I just have a lot of series that I look at my bookshelves automatically and I'm already like, you should probably finish that, or just unhaul it, or it's been a while, just get to it. And I have a lot of books, a lot of those series are either duologies or trilogies, so they're very reasonable for me to be like, just read these 2 books this 1 month, girl, get your shit together. So that is my plan. Read a book I've owned for over a year. I think that was one of my 2021, or no, sorry, my 2020 goals. I'm not 100% sure, but I pulled like 12 books alone when I looked at my shelf just really quickly the other day when I was putting all my hauls away. And so I have that thing right there kind of pre-pulled, to just, you read it, you need to freaking read it. I'm keeping them separate, these ones specifically, because like I've just owned them for a long time, and if I don't read them this year, I'm not gonna read them, so I need to unhaul them. At the same time, I want to read at least one new release, and by new release I'm classifying it as released in the past 60 days. I feel like there's just so many books that I like miss out talking to people on because I take 3, 4, 6 months to get to them after the release. And it's just like when I read it, then I'm like, no one wants to talk about it anymore. And I think it also helps with the amount of books that I buy to be kind of actively reading them as they're coming in, and not just creating this entire back catalog of books that I'm never going to get to. Or when I finally read them, it's because after I've owned them for 3 years. I want to continue this read 1 arc a month plot that I have, especially since I've been getting a little bit back more into NetGalley since they have audiobook arcs, which I've been really appreciating. And I don't always have arcs on there, but I still have a shelf of them in my house that I didn't get to this past year, even though I think I did at least 1 arc a month. I just have a lot of arcs. It's part of my job, and it probably did help me this year that all of our in-person conferences were canceled, so I didn't accumulate really any new arcs. I say that, but I think, last January my conference in Toronto still went through, so I did haul arcs from that, but other than that there wasn't any April conference in Jasper that we normally have. I also want to try and read 1 novella or 1 graphic novel a month. I've just been like seeing that I've been adding more and more novellas and graphic novels to my want to read shelf on Goodreads, and I just don't think I really ever get around to them because they're not books. I think part of it is financially. Novellas are shorter books, so I have a hard time justifying buying them because they're always the same price as full books, and I'm like, why why? Why? Someone explain this to me. I don't understand it. But I have so many I can get so many of them through the library. So I want to make a space on my TBR for the months this year to get through the novellas that have just been kind of queuing. And I feel like novellas have just become a bit more popular in terms of reading, so I think they're publishing a few more of them, and I'm very interested in them. There's one that I think is called The Chosen and the Beautiful that comes out in 2021, and the cover is like this glamorous thing. This like glamour, like 1980s headshot kind of thing. I really, really, really want to read that one. And in addition to dealing with my back catalogs on my bookshelf of books that are older, I am going to make one spot a month on my TBR for Audible back catalogs. Even with me being, I am quite picky with Audible, even what I do pick, but I still have a fair amount of books that, like, when they go on sale for $5 a book, and they've piqued my interest and I grab them. But if they're not giant series or they're not part of the book group, they just kind of get like lost, I think, and just sit in my library, and I've just never picked up a bunch of them. Several of them I've put on my TBR and then I just bump them when I get too full for other books. So there's quite a few in there that I'm picky, so I know that, like, I read that and I was like, it's worth the money and my time. So I want to go through at least one of my Audible back catalogs of my library a month. Each month I want to read bare minimum, and I feel like this is pretty easy for me to do, but I have noticed there were a few months where I looked and I was like, wow, all of these authors, it was just by fluke of what I was reading, all of these authors are cis straight white people. And so I want to make it a point that bare minimum each month I am reading at least 3 BIPOC or LGBTQ plus authors. I definitely have their books on my shelves. And so I think that'll just help me keep getting through my collection. I think I do a pretty good job of it, but there are just some months where I looked and I was like, yeah, this is weird that it ended up like this, because that's not what the world looks like, and that's not what my own collection looks like, you know what I mean? So 3 bare minimum BIPOC LGBTQ plus authors. Sorry, I guess I should say this because it's normal lingo for me, but not for everyone. BIPOC is Black, Indigenous, people of color. So an author that is not white, basically, and an author that is not cis and straight each month. Bare minimum 3. I know this is on my 2021 goal, but it took me just a while, I think, to finally get the physical book, and then I just kind of put it on the shelf because it's so pretty on the shelf, and I just dead ass forgot about it. I really I want to read Les Mis by Victor Hugo, and I finally got the beautiful Barnes & Noble leather bound up edition, and it's on my bookshelf, and I want to read it. And I think my original reasoning was because the second book, which was the sequel to Sky Without Stars, so Between the Burning Worlds, came out in 2020, and I was like, oh, it's a Les Mis meets Lunar Chronicles, so I was like, oh, I should read Les Mis to know what the heck it's referencing. And Between Burning Worlds, I thought it was the last of the series, but it's got a third book coming out, so I was like, okay, here's your time to shine. As I wait for book 3 to come out, hopefully I can finish this book in the first half of 2021. That's ideal, but I just want to get it done this year. At least one book a month will be from a new to me author. There's just so many authors out there that have just sitting on my want to read list, and it was their debut and then they haven't put anything out since, or whatever, or they've just gotten so big and I don't know where to start, whatever the reason may be. I've been finding a lot of authors that published things while I was in uni, and I just didn't have the time or mental capacity to be pleasure reading at that point. So finding those kind of hidden gems in my want to read shelf, I think that'll be a nice way, again, of dealing with my back catalog. Oh, and that's the thing. I originally was like, oh, you could definitely find a book that would fit both, like, book you've owned for a long time, over a year, and then a new to you author, but I'm not allowing that. I have to pick a different book for each of these prompts each month, no overlapping. And the last one is read 3 different genres a month. I don't think that'll be super difficult, and by this, sorry, I don't mean a book that is classified as 3 different subgenres. No, one book that is a horror, one book that is a mystery, one book that is a fantasy, whatever. I think this will be quite easy for me. I just want to try and get myself out of the habit of burning out on a specific genre, because I feel like I just mass consume fantasy, or I just mass consume historical, or whatever, and then I get burnt out, and then I'm like, oh, I have these other books that I should read because I've had them for so long, and then just now I don't want to read them. So, and I think it'll also help me kind of read a bit more into other genres that I think I thought I didn't like for the longest time because I just had 1 or 2 bad experiences, or it's seen kind of a revolution in what it's offering in the past couple of years. Perfect example being Westerns, that I had this stereotype in my mind of, because it was for a long time it seems, of just kind of Westerns being kind of hyper-masculinity, kind of misogynistic and quite racist. And then there's books that come out that are like Missing Presumed Dead, I think is a Western, Gunslinger Girl, which was an amazing surprise Western, My Calamity Jane, which was a Western. So there's been, you know, messing around with things like Westerns and horrors that have piqued my interest. So I want to start delving into those genres that I've kind of either only scratched the surface of, or I've gotten stuck under one subgenre of there and not realized that, you know, this is probably not the subgenre for me, but this subgenre under horror could actually be for me. So those are all of my challenges. Actually, one of my goals for my December holiday here is to kind of make an Excel spreadsheet. That's how I put together each of my TBRs each month, and just kind of put together a fixed part of it saying, these are your goals, which books in your TBR fit them, so that I can easily tell if I'm kind of forgetting or not fulfilling some of them. So yeah, none of this is going to be linked down below because there's nothing to link. Stay safe, wear a mask, wash your hands, Black Lives Matter. Do your best this holiday to kind of just get through it, whatever your holiday is going to look like this year. And yeah, stay safe.